Okay, my friends, Roger Mudfossil University, it has started. I have been talking about Mars for years, since Curiosity at 2011. Now they're back up there and they're saying, watch out, warn against false fossils presented on Mars. They say, oh, there are going to be a ton of them that look like fossils. They're not really fossils. Well, let's talk about that. Before we get started, I just got to make you aware. I go way back on this. I got 3,260 papers mention my name, 143 highly cited papers. I don't know what they're saying about me, but I am in this arena. I'm not completely outside of it. It's just that they have put me outside of it because I don't say the things they want me to say. So I really have stopped making academic papers. But they once they get you in that system, they follow you and they just tell you what people are saying about you. I don't subscribe to this. They just send it out to me. I haven't paid a penny to them or anything. It's not like I'm trying to follow this. And I've never seen what anybody really says about me, but I know I'm getting talked about a lot in places where they can speak. But in the big universities, they refuse to speak because they can't speak. Once they do, they're in a lot of trouble, actually, to be perfectly honest with you. Well, once they get out of that realm of their status. Now, what are we looking up here? That is literally a rock on Earth here that has blood coming out of it. It leaked all out, and it's really crystallized now. It's a solid rock. Now, let me show you some other things that have blood coming out of them. All right, so you can see the microscopic shot of the artery and, the red blood and so forth. Now, what we're going to do is look at this down here. This is really cool. Now, we're going to be looking at interstitium, which is the fleshy sort of flexible part right underneath your skin and underneath the coating on your organs and all that, so that you can move around and everything gets settled back in its place. And there's these balls and anchors and tendon, collagen fibers, loose connective tissue primarily. Now, what we're going to do is, hold on one second. Hello, my outstanding friends. One of my favorite things to do is a microscope. What are we looking at here? That is an artery. Arteries blow their blood out because there's no clamps in them. That's the vein side. A lot of times they'll run right next to each other. And the vein brings the dark blood, the black, it turns black primarily in mud fossils. It brings it back up to the heart and lungs and so forth to get reoxygenated. Then it comes back down as arterial blood with the extra oxygen and makes it red. That's the difference. Now, the veins also have what they call is valves, vein valves, which means it can come this way up to the heart, but it cannot go backwards. It's already used up. This has no restriction, go this way, go that way. Now, I'm going to show you something on Mars that I'm going to show you stuff on Mars that goes back to the first Mars mission. And we're going to get in deep, and they're going to say, oh, no, that can't be. Well, yes, it is, and I'm sorry for the new evidence that I have presented, because it's been dismissed and, a little bit pushed under the table. I've been pretty much isolated. So it's time for everybody to stand up and say, look, it's time to look at this in reality. We can't just walk around in circles because it's uncomfortable, because it's uncomfortable. Okay, my friends, we're going to talk about NASA and JPL and Caltech and all these people that are making these claims. Don't look at the fossils, there's no fossils out here. Well, let's look at what happened when they went up in 2011. I just showed you this artery right here, leaking blood out of it, and the vein right next to it. Now let me show you what is on Earth and the gigantic creatures that were here. I am very sorry to tell you, it is just a fact that everything there is biology, and some of it is absolutely gigantic. Okay, I think I decided to take a new route today. I'm going to not do I was going to get real deep into today, but what I'm going to do is, if you can't accept this, you're never going to accept anything. This is what is called interstitium. These are fluid-filled bags, you see them? And these are flexible collagen fibers, and then these are the springs and the little balls that lock these springs down so that the bags can pull. And the pink is real floppy. It's connective tissue, but it's floppy. And the springs anchor with this ball, that's very tough and does not erode. And the spring is in between this and the ball. And what it does is it flexes and brings the bag back to where it should be. So you can stretch and move and all that. This could be your skin. It could be a membrane, whatever it is. But right below it, you have this stuff so that you can move around and squish in this and that. You know, and you move it and it comes back. And that's the balls. They are everywhere around the earth. Nobody knows what they are. And they are from these things. And guess how big they get? Yes, they get very, very, very big. These are those tendon balls. I call them tendon balls. And what they do is they hold in the fabric of your tissue, your bodily tissues. They're all locked in here. And they're all eroding out. And then with them is the mud, which is now, you know, back to clay, you know, ashes to ashes, mud to mud. Now, what is it? I think that's it. Now, what is this up the top? That's the mucosa, or skin, whatever you want to call it at that point. Because it's the same thing. All it does is separate you from something else. This separates you maybe from poop or from the air in your lungs or whatever it is. But there's going to be ways of things getting into it. And these are the balls anchoring. It's just a fact. And they're everywhere around the earth. So if you cannot take this and allow yourself to understand this is the reality we face. I'm going to show you right now quickly one or two quick shots, and then we're going to go into a very deep one, because I have all the stuff on the microscope, and you know, I have the microscope, I had it all set up, I had everything ready to go, and it's just too much for today. It's more than you're going to be able to handle. I think. This is what they call the Mars Morse code. They have no idea about it, but they can see that this is all bunched up, and this is bunched up, this is stretched out. This is that interstitium. It's pulled this way, and the balls anchor it, and it's supposed to come back. Well, it's been eroded away down to the basement layer underneath. I'll show you this on Earth. It's the exact same stuff, only the straps have eroded and left only the balls. And also, the balls are all over Mars, and they call them the Mars blueberries. You see this now? These are the Mars blueberries. And I say, well, where do these come from? Those are those interstitium balls. And this is the underlayment layer, which is the basement layer of your skin. And above that, everything's flexible. Underneath that, you have your, you know, it's probably muscle or whatever. Okay, my friends, this is from the first original Mars mission, the Curiosity, I believe it was named, and they went up and found this, and they called it the Mars crab. Now, look at this landscape. That's where it's located, right in here. Look at these breaks. Look at how the striations look. Look at all the red dust that's everywhere around. Look at this and how it has all these legs going in there. Wow, what's that all about? And look at this one right above it. What's that about? This one's red and this one's kind of blackish looking. What's that all about? What's all this red dust? What's all these little stripes? What's all this? Well, let's see if we can figure it out. Alright, what I want you to look at is all of these tiny little stripes here. This is the smallest, closest look. It starts here, striated muscle, and they take a little block and they move it over here, and they go deeper in. You can see how it's constructed with these little blocks, and then you can see down here in these little blocks are all these little fibers. And one side is white and one side is black, and they come together when your muscle works. That's called a muscle sarcomere. Let's see if we can see something else. Okay, that just gives you a little bit of perspective. They're blocky, block, 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 stripy, 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 all over the place. And what is in the middle of this is your flesh. This is your muscle tissue. It's red, fleshy muscle tissue. And these little bands are tiny little stripes of connective tissue. Now look at it close. They're very blocky and very stripy. Alright, and then that's when they're apart and they're just relaxed. And when they pull together, they come this way here. All right, we now know what sarcomeres look like, and here they are right there. That's one side which pinches together. There's the dark side and there's the light side. And that runs down, and you see these blocks? Those blocks are the muscle blocks. They chop holes in here to let out the moisture. This is what they call the treasury of Petra. Now, in between each one of these blocks, remember they're blocky, 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 is a layer of connective tissue. And these are the bands, and the loose connective tissue runs down. Now, that's how this works. And this is muscle fiber, muscle tissue. Inside the treasury is the muscle. And the actually blood. You see up here? This is actually the blood coming out. And they all have this, obviously there's got to be blood coming in to service the tissue. And these are layers of tissue. This is not sedimentation or something. It's crazy to think that. And with all that I'm showing, it's pretty obvious that that's what these things are. Now, I can't account for it. The Earth is literally, I believe, is or was alive. With what we're doing, there's no way in the world it's going to survive fracking and so forth if it was alive. And I don't know if it was alive or not. I did a video about that 6 or 7 years ago. It said the Earth is alive. And as far as I can tell, it could still be. There's a core to this Earth. All right, like I said, if you can't get into understanding what you're seeing out here, you might as well just go and do whatever else you do, whatever it is you do. Because that is a giant fish. And you have Google Earth, I'm 100% sure. If you're over here watching me now, you should be able to get on Google Earth. And that's the fin of the fish, and the tail is back here. All right, now the head is all obscured up here. Unless it had some kind of nozzle, I have no clue. But this is the fin scales. That's the fin. Now the fin is being attacked. You see this stuff coming down? You see that? It's attacking it and burning into it. And you say, well, what would attack something like that? What would come down to raise this havoc all over this landscape? Well, it was the... Well, you make your decision. You tell me what you see. I look here and I see something coming out of what looks to me like the head of a dragon. Here's the nose. Here's the top of the head. It runs around here. Here's the neck coming down. Now, there's the red flashy eye that they have, and it runs off here. It's a red flashy eye. It's a little eroded. This is that flashy looking fluty stuff that they have on the side of the dragons all over in China, you'll see. And it continues on, it doesn't just stop there. And this is his neck. Now, let's look at what came out of that dragon's throat. I think he was attacking the fish. Well, obviously was attacking the fish. That's not nothing, as you used to say in the old days. That ain't nothing. Well, that's not nothing. It is from this dragon. And I believe this is his beard. They all have these beards that run down. And he spit that stuff out. And it came right down there on the dragon's back. I mean on the fish's back. That's what I see. And then when I come in here close, I see all of this is effluent. That means it's dead, decaying bodily fluids that sort of drain and wash away from the body. So the body really is up here. That's the neck. Let's go see what it looks like up close. Well, it looks like dragon scales to me. If it's a dragon, I would imagine you're going to find dragon scales. And guess what? We got some dragon scales here. And I mean, we got a ton of them. And every little patch of them, there's a crease. That way there he can bend his neck. Otherwise, he'd just be one big piece. See, there's a crease every now and then. Now, that runs all the way down his throat. Along with all that fluty looking flashy stuff. And then there's a gash right across his throat here. And in the ancient text, it talks about the dragon being slain by, I think it said God, with his great and mighty sword. And I'm telling you right there, that is a slash. And this is the only reason this blood is running out there. That's blood. Ferrous oxides, red ferrous oxides, black ferrous oxides. That is blood. And that is a gash straight across here. And this is all, the dragon is on the ancient maps, and it shows the neck is cut straight across. These are the things that Velikovsky and myself, I don't know if Velikovsky knew, well, he obviously didn't know about this, but he probably didn't know about the map either, but he had a lot of references that talked about a cataclysm where the Earth was almost hit by Venus. Now, I don't know if this was the event that happened at that time, no clue, but that dragon goes all the way across North Africa, all the way across, almost into the Mediterranean Sea. And there's his tail over here. Same thing running off the bloody transition metals is what's running out of there. And it really goes all the way out. They're fluty. I have this big flashy fluty tail that comes off of them. See it? And this goes all the way down here, and it comes all the way back up to here. Now, this is an avian creature, and when I say avian, it means they have a cloaca, and a cloaca means where they poop, they poop both things together at the same time, and here's where they're pooping out of, and this is a very fertile area, and they have populated it because there's a ton of stuff that they can grow in this area. See it growing stuff in the desert? Well, they're growing it in the poop. This is a cloaca. And then that runs out, you know, into here. See it coming right out there. And that's exactly what an avian creature is. And it looks like it had 2 legs. Now, I don't know. I have no idea. And I really can't make out a whole lot of the wings and all that stuff. But I think this was all part of his wings. And but I can't make that for sure. But if you go down and look close, you can see some very strange looking patterns that almost leathery looking, you know. I suppose they could be just dust formed that way, but I don't know. You have to get up here and scope around because it takes a long time to really look correctly. Because the other thing you have to see is this was an ocean at one time, and that's, I don't know how something like that could live without that. Don't ask me these things. I don't know. This is what we have to talk about. But this was an ocean, and it drained out right off of here into the Atlantic and created the Cape Verde Islands. This is where it ran off, right over the top of Atlantis, which is here. And Atlantis has all its boat docks and all that stuff in there. And it has the straits right in here. And that's where it all drained. You see coming right over here from the straits? They always talked about the straits. And everybody always expected it was the Straits of Gibraltar. But no, I say it's this straits. And I say this is where it all drained off of around the edge when Atlantis collapsed. And everything washed out into the ocean and created Cape Verde Islands. And Plato said they would never talk about mud again after this event. So much mud ran out of here. And obviously, look at what happened. And it seems this all happened at the same time as the dragon and the fish, because it looks like that's a little bit of mud ran over the top of the fish's swale in his back here. This is something we'd have to figure out. And it looks like it ran over the top of his tail. His tail is underneath here somewhere, I think. And I don't know whether this is what that is, whether this is part of the wings or whether this is, you know, it looks very strange to me. There's got to be a lot of real close looking into this to see what are we actually looking at. Is that the wings of the thing from the dragon overlaying this? I have no idea. No idea. And there is so much to look at over here. It's just absolutely yikes. And these are the kind of things they refuse to examine and look at. So as they come up with these things. Don't look at the things they're talking about. Don't listen to Roger. And I'm telling you, they know me. I am not a quiet guy. I have contacted every single one of these people, 100%. If they don't know me, that's not my fault. And I have been posting about this stuff for 10 years. Well, not 10 years, but 6 or 7 years of really, being kind of upset and being a little bit aggressive, because you have to be. They still are able to suppress this to this very day, where, there's no question we have the DNA reports, the CAT scans, everything there is to support the evidence, and it is refused by the people that we have entrusted to give us the truth. So this is where we got trouble. And I'm going to start going into this microscope stuff very shortly in the next video, because, like I say, if you can't accept what I just showed you today with the dragon and the giants and all that stuff, we got new species, the no-toes. They get the toes built right into them. And I'm going to show you all kinds of things that nobody's ever even thought about before. How mud fossils form, and what conditions they form in, and why some of them turn into mud, and why some of them turn into like crystals and opals and like this. This is a water opal, very very unique. It's a heart, but it's turned into what they call a water opal. It's opalized, but in a condition where there wasn't enough transition metals to give it that lustrous, all that colorful look. It's transition metals that do this, and that's what's in your blood. And if it was in a condition where it could stabilize and fill in with silicates for some reason, and I don't know, I have the answers for all this stuff, but I know this happens. And in Mitchell Hedges' skull, there's no question it's real. Nobody could have made that. I might as well show you that, and then I'm going to leave it for today. And then we're going to get into this so deep that you cannot miss it, because we're going to soak everything in fluids, and then we're going to put it in a microscope. We're going to look at it anatomically. We're going to, don't look because they're going to mess in my shop here. But over here, we're going to get into all of the blood vessels and where we find them and how they stack up against each other. And this book here is anatomically probably the best book I've ever seen in my life. It's giant. And it's detailed. So we're going to get into all of the details, because if you don't know the details, you're stuck, you're done. And this is what I hear from them. I'm not an expert in that. I'm not an expert in that. I said, well, why don't you help me show somebody? Get an expert. Get one of your people that's at Yale or Harvard or one of them, and they refuse. I even went to school. I took a course at Johns Hopkins with Peter Salzberg, and he's a pretty top shot at this ancient DNA. That's why I went there, and he wasn't interested at all either. It was very disheartening, and he engaged nicely at first, and then it was all over after that, and everybody else did too. At first, a lot of them said, "Oh, what are you, a creationist?" And I said, "No, I have evidence. That's all evidence." And he said, "Oh yeah, okay. Well, this doesn't happen, and this doesn't happen." And I said, "Wait a minute." By the time I got done with the guy at Harvard, and I was on with him for had to be at least close to an hour. He got done. Finally, he said, "Everything you said makes sense, but if you read the books I read, you wouldn't be saying what you're saying." And that was it. I've never heard from Harvard again. And I've tried to contact Harvard Origins of Life, refused to contact me back. Everybody does. They all refuse. Because now they're the ones that are up against the wall. But why would they not want to teach the truth? This is what upsets me. We relied on them for facts and truth. And if you won't examine something, you're not a scientist. You're not looking for facts. You're not looking for truth. You're looking to stabilize your support system. Whatever that might be, I have no idea. I have no idea what their motivation is. But I can tell you one thing, it's across-the-board denial of reality. Not denial of speculation, of theory, of somebody else's thoughts. No, it's denial of factual truth, evidence in stone. All right? In giant creatures, in events that were written in history. This is what is the upsetting factor for academia. This changes everything for them. And I mean it's everything. Alright, check this out. Mitchell Hedges' skull. No, it can't be real, that's not real. They've dismissed this forever. Now, look at the brain fibers. Look at what's inside that skull, coming up this way and around and over the top. What's this? Up this way and over, around and over the top. This is the back of the brain. You see this? Well, this one's puffed up that way. Well, this one's laying down this way. Well, that's because he was laying on his face. That would have been laying this way. You see the lip is pushed back, the nose is all flopped back. He's just laying on his face. That way there, the brain moved forward, the cavity filled with the silicates. Now, fibers in nerve fibers have special coatings on them. They keep them from getting disrupted and making you crazy. And there is an issue, I understand that a little bit too. It has to do with the shielding, which is, the shielding is made literally by bacteria. And the bacteria create like it's a membrane-ish mucus and all that stuff. There's a lot to be looked at in that realm too. Like I said, you have to, you know, and I don't mean to brag, but I've done it all, everything. I've done it from atomic physics up, and I have a new model of the Bohr model is wrong. It's never been right. I had that 50 years ago. It says that everything's a dipole, and I show that very clearly, and I show light accelerating. I'll show it to you now just for the hell of it too. But this is the problem. Nothing is examined that is of evidence. All they want to do is talk about theory. That's what academic means. It means irrelevant. I'm not kidding you. That's what academic means. Anyway, this is the jaw comes out and moves and everything. It's just absolutely amazing. That's the condition that this was fossilized in. They all have different areas in the world that this cataclysm caused different events to petrify things in different ways. Mine are mostly mud fossils, but I do have some really spectacular stuff. I mean, new species. The toes are built into these, and that's where the fibia is. The tibia is here. That big bone sits right there in that little bucket there, and the other one fits, and they fall off. We got a lot of these, and they fall right off that side. And anyway, this needs to be looked at, and it is what it is. All right, again, this is the artery and a vein, and this is the red blood all dripping down out of here, and these are the layers of the muscles and so forth. And this is on Earth. These guys are looking up at it, saying, "Ooh, look at that." Okay, I can almost guarantee you this is targeted at me. Watch out for false fossils presented on Mars. I say watch out for false scientists presenting things on Mars. They have to come down to reality. I showed I hope I showed you all that stuff. I got interrupted a number of times, but I'm sure I showed you the Mars crab, the blueberries. Oh boy, I don't know if I did. Hold on. No, I think I showed you the interstitium with all the little stone balls holding them in place, and this is all eroded too. The mud is what would have been the flesh. Underneath is this stuff, just like on the Mars blueberries. Same thing, only this is from Earth here. Earth is exactly the same. The giant creatures. I don't know how it happened. I can't account for any of it. But all the ancient texts talked about the gods being literally living creatures, and the planets being made of the gods. Yeah, I've seen a number of videos recently that are really, and I think they're targeted at my stuff, because I'm the only one showing evidence of what I can prove. And I have the DNA reports, I have the specimens, that's the heel stone at Stonehenge. That is a foot. These are the toes out here. And you see those little holes? Those tips of toes. Look at this, hold on. On the tips of all your fingers and toes, they have the terminal of the arteries and veins, just like this one does. You see that little hole there? It's the same thing here. This was, if you could see that pattern, I know you might not be able to. That black pattern is what's called a distal phalanges pattern, and it's the bone black that's leaked out. That's the vein side, and that's the artery side. The artery side blows out. Boom, boom. See, it blows out, and it blows out at the end. The vein side does not blow out. See, it's not blowing out here, it's not blowing out here. That's what happens. One side comes up the arteries, and the other side's the veins. And that's where the bone would have been, that black pattern. This has been here 10 years. When it first came out, you could see it just looked like a fingertip. A distal phalanges. And then at the end of that would be an apical tuft. This is an apical tuft. And that holds the little tendon balls in, those little balls like that, and they run all the way down the fingertips and make your fingers be able to do all that kind of stuff. Very cool structure. And you know, this one here is a normal size. I mean, not normal size. Back then maybe it was, but it's a normal looking foot that has the same kind of architecture as ours. We have a lot of them that look just like this now, totally different in my mind. And then I have other ones that look like the Oopa Loopa looking feet. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable. And then we have other ones that look different. And then we have other ones, well, let me just show you one giant foot. That's not mine, but I'll just show it to you. And then I'm going to have to let it go with this today. Hopefully you understand. Do not listen to the experts about literally anything anymore. Make sure you think for yourself. Come to Mud Fossil University on YouTube. Make sure you tell everybody, and stand up for yourself. Just say, no, you guys are wrong. I'm sorry, case is closed. Go up to Mud Fossil University. Let's talk about it. Let's discuss it. Let's get a forum going. And this is what we need to do. Somebody's going to have to step up and do it. I can't do it anymore. I'm too old and I'm getting tired. All right, so somebody's going to have to step on up. Somebody said in a comment the other day, oh, you need an apprentice. Yes, I do. I need some people, literally I need a staff of people to administer a literal school and present it as courses, and you know, and we can have back and forth about it and discussion and learn. Not just be somebody tell you, here's what you have to learn to be right. And then you say, oh no, that's not right. It doesn't matter. If you don't say that, you're going to fail. You say, but it's not right. It doesn't matter. Well, in my school, it will matter. We'll make it right. If it's because not everything is right. Not everything I'm going to say is right. Although I do have a motto. They say, well, why should we trust you, Roger? And I said, well, it's obvious. And they said, well, what do you mean obvious? I said, well, because I'm always right and I never lie. Anyway, I'm just teasing. Sometimes I lie. No. Everybody's wrong. Everybody's wrong. Don't get like that. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But you're going to have to show me I'm wrong. You just can't say, oh, you didn't read page 27 of Einstein. Because light can't accelerate. It doesn't matter what you say. You can't show me light accelerates. I say, absolutely, I can show you light accelerates. It doesn't matter because Einstein said it can't. Who cares? Okay, there's regular pulsed laser. There's laser accelerating, and there's a particle in there, and the particle is magnetic. It has a wave, a field surrounding it. It creates a wave as the whole thing moves through the air. That's why it's a particle and a wave. And there's the particle, and you can see it has two polarities back to back, like two little electrons, which are actually dipoles. That's the other thing they don't understand. And the nucleus is made out of dipoles. So don't listen to anybody anymore. Just don't listen. Just ask them, say, please explain this, please explain this, please explain that. And when your professors say to you, here's the deal, and you can make it concise and I can understand what they're saying, I will give you evidence to show they're not right. This is obviously, if they say, oh, that's just and then they walk away, well, then you have an issue. You should get your money back because they have to say, no, that's not right, and be able to present evidence against it. Not just that it's not right because they don't like it. That's what's happened right across the board. It's dismissalist education now, and I really think they got a real serious issue. To be perfectly honest with you, I would not want to be in their shoes right now, knowing that everything they're saying is not correct, and nobody cares. So, is that fiduciary failure? Is that something that there's recourse for? I believe it is, but That's just what the lawyers in my group tell me. I got 119,000 people now, and some of them are lawyers, and they understand that this is not a good thing that's going on here. That there's rights and obligations, and the obligations are not being met. So I would say it's time for a change.